So I just wanted to get on here and do a little bit of an improv video, give my thoughts on some things that I've been thinking about for the past few weeks. Now, about 2 weeks ago, I started cutting out all of the excess sugar from my diet. And I never, I was never addicted to processed foods or sugar or anything like that. I didn't have a diet that was, where I was consuming sugar in excess. That was never happening. But I realized that there were some times where there was a cereal that I was eating that wasn't a particularly processed or sugary cereal. It was actually very low in sugar. But I cut that out. I cut out, and fruit isn't bad because it has fiber in it that allows your body to process the sugar more slowly. So it's not like drinking juice. It's not like orange juice or apple juice. But what I did was I ended up cutting out a lot of that sugar, a lot of the excess fruit that I was eating, and just drinking more water, and all in all eating incrementally better. I mean, I eat pretty healthy anyways. Usually my dinner consists of a large array of vegetables and maybe meat 3 to 4 days a week. Not, again, not in excess, but I've noticed that just by cutting out excess sugar, that doesn't even seem to really matter. It's, again, like a very small amount of sugar that I've cut out of my diet, but I've still cut it out. And the amount of energy that I've had the last couple weeks, I mean, first of all, the energy boost that you feel is almost instant. And what got me to think about doing this was that I've heard that if you eat a lot of sugar before you go to bed, it not only it disrupts your sleep, but it makes it so that you're more foggy brained in the morning. It's tougher for your brain to get going. And I think that has to do with some of the inflammation that comes with consuming a lot of sugar and processed foods in general. But I just thought, I wake up some mornings and I just don't want to get going. I don't want to do anything. And it really stinks because, the mornings are my most productive time. It's when I have the most motivation to do things. So by cutting out the sugar, I realized that it was like instantaneously, the next day, I realized that I had more energy. I felt better come, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. And I noticed something else about it that it really opened my eyes to the difference between clean energy for your body and dirty energy for your body. So the difference between cutting sugar out and the energy that you get from that and drinking something like coffee is that coffee, I like to call it a dirty energy. It makes you very anxious. It makes you almost nervous. But the thing is that there are some tasks where if you're trying to be productive, there's a certain amount of anxiety and nervousness that helps you be productive. It keeps you going on the same path, and it keeps you, I don't want to say motivated, but it keeps you in the mindset of being productive. So it's not like coffee is just this terrible thing that nobody should ever have. It's like there's a little bit of a use for it, but the thing is the amount of energy that you get from it, you can almost consider 30 to maybe 40% of that energy is well directed. It's well-purposed energy. It's meant to help you be more productive in certain areas. But the problem is that then you have 60 to 70% of that energy. And then again, I'm just throwing out rough estimates. It's not like I ran tests on this, but just what I feel the difference is between coffee and cutting out sugar. So with coffee, you have 60 to 70% of that energy that's then directionless. It's kind of just nowhere. And it manifests in the form of just nervous energy. It's just this rapid expenditure of nervous energy. And think back to the video that I did on substance abuse, where I said that it's almost like directionless. When you're influenced by a substance, by an external substance, and it doesn't come from something within you, but it's something that you've done to just scramble your circuits, as I think I said in the video, it's directionless. It's like having a car with a cinder block on the gas pedal and no steering wheel. So wherever the wheels tend to align, that's where it's just gonna go, and it's gonna end up going in a large circle. But the analogy holds up, where it's the same thing with coffee, where I'd say 60 to 70% of that energy just ends up being wasted. It ends up being, the cinder block on the gas pedal in the car with no steering wheel. Well, with sugar, with cutting out sugar, it's almost the opposite of that, where maybe 5 to 10% of the energy is just this rapid expenditure of nervous energy. But then, we're talking 90 to 95% is well-founded energy. It's energy that you can really do something with, and it's deep-seated. It's like when you just drink coffee, if you had a lot of sugar the day before or earlier in the day and your brain is foggy, coffee doesn't get you out of that foggy brain. It just makes that foggy brain work a little bit quicker. And there is a difference. Foggy brain doesn't mean slow. It means it's tough to formulate ideas. And so, that's really what it is you think of like a foggy setting. It's tough to see things. That's the whole idea, is it's tough to know what that next thought should be. But coffee makes it easy to just have a next thought. It doesn't mean that it makes sense. Sugar gets away all the fog, or like cutting out sugar. When I say sugar, I mean cutting out sugar. It gets away all of the fog, and now you can clearly see what direction you should be going to attain the goals that you're trying to attain for whatever productive venture you're on. And so, I would say 90 to 95% of the energy that I felt from cutting out sugar seems to be very well directed, because your body isn't just in go mode. Your body's not just like, let's go do something right now. We got to go, 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 go. Your body's like, okay, it's almost like your brain and your body work synergistically, where, everything's on the same path. Everything's on the same page. It's like, you have full sight of what is in front of you and full sight of what you need to do. And I just see such a vast difference between, waking up and drinking coffee after not cutting out excess sugar, and then cutting out excess sugar and not having coffee. It is night and day. And the thing too is, if you have coffee, it keeps you energized for maybe a few hours, but then you crash. And that crash might not even be like the pendulum swinging way far to the other side, but it may just be that the pendulum gets back to the middle. And when you get back to the middle, if you still have a diet where there's a lot of excess sugar, or excess sugar at all, if you get back to the middle, that middle point is foggy brained. So it feels like you've swung far the other direction. And I do understand that there are people who drink coffee and they drink it enough where, they really do swing to the other side and they get massive headaches if they don't have coffee. Like, I get all of that. I'm not one of those people. I can't say I've ever been addicted to coffee. I can't say that I've ever consumed it in excess for many days in a row. The most that I have is maybe 2 cups on some weekend, like on a Saturday or on a Sunday. I'll have 2 cups in one day, but that's rare. And I don't drink coffee or caffeine really throughout the rest of the work week. But it just makes it so much more difficult to justify having the excess sugar when you realize that there's so much energy that you can have from that you can get from cutting that sugar out. And I guess so going back to my initial point before I started talking about, like a coffee addiction or anything like that, when you cut out the excess sugar, your normal is a lot of energy. Your normal becomes you having a clear mind and being able to move in a solid direction that you're consciously moving in. And I wouldn't say that, consuming sugar and getting foggy brained means that it's not conscious. It's just that, again, foggy brained. You can't see exactly where you should be going. You just know, like, gotta go, 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 go. And so what that means is that, if you drink coffee in the morning, maybe you crash at 1 or 2 in the afternoon. And it's again, if you're not addicted to coffee, maybe you just went back to normal. Maybe you just went back to being foggy brained. But when you cut out excess sugar, there is no crash. The normal now becomes energized. You're now, at 4, 5, 6 o'clock at night, still geared up, rearing to go. You're still, in a clear mind. And maybe it deteriorates a little bit over the course of the day as you expend energy and all that. Maybe it's a little bit, but it's not much. And the way that I know that is, it's for me personally, but it's objective evidence as far as I'm concerned for me. Again, just me, just one person who tested this. I'm speaking from my own personal experience. But I go into work in the morning and I work until noon. Then when I get out at noon, I come home and that's when I record videos, I do work with research, whatever I got to do. So there would be days where I would get home from work and I would be dead tired. I'd have lunch and then I would just take a nap for an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. But I was still getting 6.5 to 8 hours of sleep every night, depending on the night and, how much sleep I could actually get. And now, since in the last 2 weeks or so, I'm not taking naps anymore. I get home from work, I eat lunch, and I still feel like I did in the morning. I still feel geared up and ready to go and, ready to be productive. And there's been nothing else that's changed from my lifestyle. I haven't done anything else. I'm not sleeping more. I'm not sleeping differently. I'm not eating anything else that's different. The most that I'm doing, maybe, which I wouldn't even really consider this a change, is I'm drinking a little bit more water because I'm a little bit more conscious of it. It's like I might think of it once or twice throughout the day and just drink a glass of water right then and there. But I've done it before where I'll drink like a gallon of water per day. And I did that actually 1 year. I did that for an entire year. And that was, I think, the year of 2018, I think. It was like every day that year, I drank a gallon of water. And that, too, gives you massive amounts of energy. You are, like, rearing to go. But the problem, too, is, like, right at first, when you start consuming excess water, the energy can feel a little bit dirty. A lot of it's, like, nervous energy. But then when your body, like, normalizes that, it becomes more like the clean energy that I'm discussing with cutting out excess sugar. Cutting out excess sugar, there's no period that I had where it's like this enormous burst of nervous energy, whereas consuming excessive amounts of water, I did have that. But then it normalized, and I'm past the point where the water normalized with my body with the sugar. So that was a little bit confusing, but what I'm trying to say, put simply, is that, it took like maybe 4 or 5 days for my body to normalize consuming a gallon of water per day. I'm 2 weeks into cutting out excess sugar, so it's past the 4 or 5 day mark. So my body, I feel like, has already normalized cutting out the excess sugar. And I'm sure that, it's like a logarithmic curve. I'm sure it tails off a little bit, and I'm still at a point where, yeah, maybe my body's normalizing it a little bit, but it's not a whole lot. And I feel so much better. There's like even the mindset, there's more positive emotions. There's more positivity that comes out of me, and I can feel that. And again, it's not like other things in my life have changed. I'm still doing videos on the channel. I'm still going to work part-time. I'm still talking to the same people. I'm still doing the same stuff, still eating a lot of the same stuff, which again has always been generally healthy. I don't really consume processed things or excess sugar. And I think that that's the big thing to take away from this, is that, well, 2 things. Coffee cannot replace dietary changes in terms of energy. You cannot just say, well, I'm going to eat like crap and just drink coffee or caffeinated tea. And 2, the second big thing would be that I wasn't consuming lots of sugar. Cutting out excess sugar, we're talking like maybe I cut out 20 grams of sugar a day. Maybe it's that. And I feel like $1 million. I feel so different. It's not even funny. And I look back and I think of all of the time and the productivity, the potential energy that was there that was stolen from me without even really realizing it, with just thinking that it's normal, just thinking this is what my body's doing, but it's not. Once you cut out the excess sugar, you realize that there's so much more that you're capable of, and coffee will never bring that to you. I mean, you would. And the other thing too is caffeine is a drug. I mean, it has psychoactive effects. It energizes you up. It gives you a lot of nervous energy by shutting off it shuts off the melatonin producer in your brain. And so that's how people get addicted to it, though, is that and it also does things to your blood and whatnot, in your veins and arteries. But when you have that melatonin being shut off so consistently, then when it's not shut off, it's like an overproduction of melatonin, because the body's already trying to correct for the coffee you're drinking and the fact it's getting like artificially shut off. And so your body goes to overcorrect. And then if you don't have coffee after drinking it every day for 2 weeks, all of a sudden your body's like, whoa, what are we doing here? Okay. We're producing way too much melatonin, and you feel it. You can feel it if you go through all of that. And I haven't personally gone through that, but I know several people who have, like multiple people who have drank coffee in excess for a long period of time. And then if they go without it for even a few hours in the morning, they're all sleepy, their eyes are droopy, they're out of it. So it takes such a grip on you, whereas cutting out excess sugar doesn't. It's not an addiction. It's just, you just feel better and you're eating the right things. And, there's no reason to think that just because you get a craving for something that you should indulge in that craving. And that's a deep rabbit hole. There's a lot of other things that I could talk about with that in terms of diet, because even when it comes to something like fasting, it's like, yeah, maybe realizing that your body has impulses to do things that you shouldn't always act on, maybe translate that over to eating. Your body gets the impulse to eat. Maybe you shouldn't. Maybe you should have a well-structured diet instead of just eating whenever you're hungry. And this is the idea of, fasting, where, you go a day without food. And I think it's after 24 hours without food, your body starts burning fat in the fat deposits instead of trying to pull calories from your stomach, your digestive tract, your intestines. And the other thing too, speaking of intestines, that I want to mention is that when it comes to something like having leaky gut syndrome, I want to make sure I say that clearly, leaky gut. When it comes to something like leaky gut syndrome, what that means is that you're eating food, it's going in and it's passing through your intestines and it's coming out without really having been processed by your body. And part of the reason that happens, or one of the reasons that happens, is that if you're under a lot of stress, the blood and the nerve resources that are around your gut that help your gut to absorb the nutrients and to move the food through your intestines, if you're under a lot of stress and there's a lot of cortisol being released, that goes to your extremities in your head for the fight or flight response. Well, fight, flight, or freeze, really. But it goes to your extremities. And so it takes that blood from your gut. So now your gut doesn't have those resources to properly digest the food and properly move it along. And so I feel like when you drink coffee, the reason that people say coffee's like a laxative for them is that it's pulling that blood from your gut and putting it into your extremities, putting it into your head, putting it into that rapid expenditure of nervous energy. And it's giving people like almost temporary leaky gut, which leaky gut syndrome is something that's more permanent for people with immune issues or autoimmune diseases. But I think even with coffee or any type of caffeine, any way that you can get caffeine, it pulls that blood from your gut and puts it in your extremities. And now you, again, like I just said, get temporary leaky gut. And I think that's why people feel like it's a laxative of some sort. So I just wanted to share my thoughts on this. I thought that it was interesting. You almost have to experience it to know exactly what I'm talking about, because when you cut out excess sugar, you don't have that like temporary leaky gut or anything like that. It's just everything seems to move better. Like, I don't just mean bowel wise. I mean, like, in general, everything seems to flow better. Your thoughts flow into, your body better, and your body flows out into the world better. And you're able to be more productive in a lot of ways. And you're able to think more clearly, make more informed thoughts, more informed decisions. And I thought that I'd get on here and do a little quick improv video on this and just explain that, if you're thinking about a way to try to get more energy, perhaps you're lacking energy for some reason, or maybe you're just thinking about your overall body health. I mean, sugar is god awful for your body. So to cut out little bits of excess sugar, or to cut out a lot of excess sugar, depending on how much you're actually consuming on a daily basis, I mean, it can move mountains for you. And it gives you something that coffee can never give you. And if you pair cutting out excess sugar with drinking more water, I mean, that's a combination that nothing can compete with. Especially people do meth and then they're up for like 4 days, but again, that's like an extreme amount of dirty energy that I'm talking about. Like with coffee, coffee's less, but there's still a lot of dirty energy there that you can feel when you get the clean energy, when you taste what clean energy is like. And of course, eating healthy comes into all of this. You have to be eating a fibrous diet. You have to be eating whole foods, whole vegetables, kale, carrots, broccoli, onions, and asparagus, and blueberries, strawberries even. Like, I get that there's sugar in there, it's fruit, it's berries, but again, like, you don't want to drink apple juice. You eat an apple because there's fiber in it, and when it goes into your stomach, your body processes it slowly. So you do get the small amounts of sugar that are in something like an apple or a banana, or a strawberry or blueberry, but your body understands how to process that slower. And so the fiber makes it so your body can't just push all that sugar into your blood system and then like you have a sugar high and then you crash. Your body won't do that to you. So again, just making sure that you have a solid diet is it's almost priceless. And I would accompany a solid diet or eating good foods with cutting out excess sugar and drinking more water. And I'll leave you guys with this final thought. So people generally are either trying to get somewhere or get away from something. And I think they're generally doing both of those things when they think about how they're eating. So like, you have people who say develop an autoimmune disease and then they're trying to get away from that disease. They're not, you can also word it like they're trying to get to health, but when you're trying to get away from something, it's about what you cut out of your diet. When you're trying to get somewhere, it's about what you add to your diet. So let's separate this now into the absolutes. So if you're trying to get to a point where, like, let's say you're trying to bulk up and build lots of muscle, it's about what you eat and how you eat it, at what times, and how you pair things. That's what determines how much muscle you're able to build, in part. There's genetics and whatnot and the workouts you do, but talking about purely about diet, trying to get somewhere, like say you're trying to achieve a more well-structured physique, it's about what you eat and what you do. Whereas let's say that you're overweight and you have to get to normal before you can get to being fit, it's about what you don't eat. You're trying to get away from being fat. You're trying to get away from all of those excess fat deposits on your body. So when you're trying to get away from something, it's about what you cut out. When you're trying to get to something, it's about what you add to your diet. And again, like most things, this is like both things are at play. So if you're trying to get somewhere because you're trying to get away from something, which I think is most cases, it's about what you add, but also what you cut out. So what I'm saying is add the healthy vegetables, add the whole foods, add the gluten-free products, because gluten is something I'll talk about it at some point, but it's god awful for your gut bacteria. And even if you don't have celiac disease, doesn't matter. It's god awful for you, and it's bad for your brain. So eat the whole foods, eat I mean, usually gluten-free products that aren't whole foods are processed like breads or something. And there are good gluten-free breads out there, mind you. There's a lot that are bad, like Udis. I don't know if I can actually say that, but yeah. Anyways, there are some that are really good. And most sourdough breads are actually gluten-free. You have to look, I think it should say wheat gluten in the ingredients if it's in there, but every sourdough bread that I've seen doesn't have wheat gluten in it. But anyways, you should be adding good foods to your diet while cutting out excess sugar. You know, add drinking more water to your diet while cutting out coffee, cutting out other caffeine that gives you dirty energy, or that tries to swing your pendulum too far in one direction, so that your normal isn't what your normal would be if you just cut out the sugar and the caffeine. So I hope that this video resonates with some people. I hope that this makes a little bit more sense for some people. There were some interesting and original ideas in this video, and I hope you guys found this helpful. If you did and you're not subscribed, please subscribe. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next one. I'll probably be doing some live streams on this channel coming soon, maybe even today. I don't know. We'll see. This is going to be a more spur of the moment kind of live stream if I do them on this channel. Well, if I do them like today or tomorrow or something, or like, you know, there's going to be improv live streams on here, but there's also going to be well-structured live streams where I have a lot, you know, to present, information, even political stuff. I'm going to be putting it on this channel, the live streams and whatnot, and move away from that on the main channel, The Right Media. So thank you guys so much for watching. I don't want to drag this ending out, so I'll see you guys in the next one.